Hello and welcome to another fun-filled edition of Adam's Music Box. And today I want to talk about some of the inherent contradictions in the way we think about Dave Brubeck and his music. He's without doubt one of the best and most influential pianists in contemporary jazz. But what created these contradictions? Well, let's look at how his music was marketed. There was, of course, the album Jazz Goes to College, a legendary and very loaded name. There was the US State Department sponsored tour. It became quite clear that the powers that be in both the private and public sectors, both the Madison Avenue men and the Pentagon men, tended to see, well, State Department's not the Pentagon, but you know what I mean out there. The show's free. What do you expect? There was this sort of overall attitude that Dave Brubeck was taking jazz and he was turning it into something more akin to European classical music. He was making it whiter, he was making it more effetist or even elitist. That was the marketing behind Dave Brubeck. But not only was that unfair to the spirit in which he played and composed his music, but it was actually musicologically inaccurate. And let's try to find out why. Of all of the various calling cards of Dave Brubeck's music, there was this sort of fetishization of rhythm and odd rhythms in particular. Take Five is probably his most famous composition, and the whole sort of novelty of it, before having a really catchy hook, is that, oh, it's in five, and we're used to music that swings in four. We're used to waltzes, which is odd, but we can kind of accept waltzes, but we're certainly not used to anything in five or in seven four or any of or in nine or any of these other complex time signatures, complex odd time signatures that Brubeck would use. Now, this actually took jazz much further away from European classical music because European classical music, at least in its golden age, is not known so much for complex or what a European audience would consider heterodox rhythms, odd rhythms. It was more known for its harmony and its melody. That's what differentiates European classical music from so many other musical traditions. Because of this, in proper having a Joe Biden moment, in proper performances of European classical music, it's the melody and the harmony that guides the rhythm. The rhythm follows where the melody and the harmony lead. And the great maestros of European classical music, people like Furtwängler and Mengelberg, my two favorites, but there are other great ones. Stokowski was another great one who had a lot of success in America. They understood this implicitly and they performed this explicitly. This can be contrasted with the art music or classical music movements of other countries where rhythm guides the harmony and the melody. Think of the gamelan of Indonesia. Think of raga from India. Think of the master drumming traditions of Ghana and other places in West Africa. So we see a clear distinction where in many other traditions of so-called art or classical music, it's the rhythm that really guides and leads the harmony and melody. Where uniquely in European classical music, it's the opposite. It's the harmony and the melody that are leading the rhythm. Now, what did Dave Brubeck do in sort of making rhythm the guiding force of his performance? Well, he actually took the music away from the traditions of European classical music. And hence we see the sort of cognitive dissonance of music being marketed to people in the same way that a record of, let's say, I don't know, Fritz Reiner and the Chicago Symphony on RCA Living Stereo would have been marketed. I mean, he was on Columbia. They had Eugene Ormandy in Philadelphia. Were very much guided by not even melody and harmony, but by the sonic properties, the sonaural properties themselves. And so this shows you how marketing men can really influence the way that a lot of musicians think of performance. What Dave Brubeck was doing was actually bringing the piano closer to Ghanaian drumming than he was to a Mozart symphony. But you wouldn't know that if you listened to Madison Avenue at the time. You'd only know that if you listened to the music intently. And so, what's the conclusion of all this? Well, It means that you can enjoy music that has many influences and that it derives itself from different global music traditions. But most of all, it means be careful of perception and be careful of marketing in music because it will sometimes lead you to the opposite direction of where you think you're going. As always, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.